Hello everyone, welcome to Inside the Quality Awards. My name is Ralph Peterson, and in this video we are going to go over question P1B2 of the Silver Quality Award, the organizational profile. And just like its counterpart in the bronze application, P1B1, it is one of the most important questions in the entire application. It's certainly one of the most important questions in the organizational profile. Just like in bronze, I said there are three most important questions in the bronze application, and this being the first one, I would still hold that to be true here at the silver. So this question, P1B2, is super important. It's all about your customers. We're going to have to modify it from the bronze. We can't just pull the answer from the bronze into the silver, so we do have to make some changes. And there is a expectation at the silver level that's not spelled out. But hang tight. I'm going to explain it to you at the end of this video. There's a secret you need to know in P1B2 in order to get full credit. And trust me, you want full credit. Here we go. P1B2. All right, first things first. Here we are. P1B2. First things, I want to first, fill this out like I'm using it from my bronze. Like I'm just going to imagine that I have my bronze in front of me and that I had residents. If I could spell residents, that would be great. Residents, families, and I'm going to say discharge planners. Okay, just as an example, because I want to show you that if you're working from your bronze, which is typical, which is usual, you probably already have your customer groups already listed. But this ask, now it says, wait a minute, what are your key market segments, patient resident, and other customer groups and stakeholder groups as appropriate? And a lot of times we're like, wait, what's the difference between a customer group and a key market segment? Well, now this is where we get into a little bit of things here, because you may have, these, as I have them written right now, these are customer groups. These are groups of different types of customers. Okay. What is a market segment? Well, a market segment is, what if instead of just residents, I have long-term care residents and I have short-term care residents. Maybe I even have memory care residents. Now, all of a sudden, I have the same customer group, but three different market segments. And trust me when I say, long-term care residents want something completely different than a short-term care resident. I should have said it the other way around. Short-term care residents want something a lot different, right? What does a short-term care resident want? They want to get out, right? They want to get therapy. They want to have it 7 days a week, 5 times a day. They don't want to eat in the dining room. They want separation. They want extended visiting hours. They want Wi-Fi. They want high-def television. Right? Like they want a menu they can, choose from. They want complete independence. Well, a long-term care resident probably doesn't want all those things, right? A long-term care resident isn't thinking in the 2-3 week range, short term. They're thinking longer term. They want to build relationships, right? Like they want consistency. They want safe and right. Like there are some things that are the same, and there are some things that are different. Now, it's very important to note that as we start getting through this silver application, when we start asking about, in the Silver Quality Award, we start asking you about how do you communicate with your customers. When we ask you, how do you communicate with your customers later on in the application, and you said you have different market segments, you have long-term care, you consider 3 different market segments. You have long-term care residents, you have short-term residents, and you have memory care residents, and you broke them out as 3 distinct customers. Here, you have to break them out as 3 distinct customers everywhere else in the application. Just keep that in mind. You always have to address. That's why this question is so important. P1B2 is paramount to the way the rest of the application is going to be read. As an examiner, one of the first things I write down when I'm reading your application is who you said are a customer of yours. And if you segmented at all, what segmented, how did you segment them? Because I'm going to be looking for that evidence of that throughout the entire application. Very, very important. So then you probably don't have more segmentation of your families or your discharge planners. You could, of course, you could separate, you could go like families and then responsible party. I don't know why you would, but you might, right? But generally speaking, so what are your now what we're asking you, okay, in the bronze we said, you have to say residents in the bronze. They don't give you a choice. You have to say, including residents, who are your customers? Now at the silver level, we're going, not just residents, but how do you classify those residents? What kind of market segments are those residents in? And other customer groups and stakeholders. Now, about stakeholders, real quick, I just need to make this point because a lot of people are confused, like, wait, what is a stakeholder group and what is the difference between a customer group and a stakeholder group? A stakeholder group is somebody that has an investment in your organization. Think board of directors, think about your ownership, think about your vendors, think about the regulators or the community at large. The community at large in this case would be a great stakeholder to list, right? And they do have both requirements and expectations of your services. And then we're going to get a little into that, but I want to make a finer point here. If we go further into the application, when we go further into the application, I'm going to pull up the silver. This is the process section. This is question 1.1 or section 1.1, but I want to show you 1.1c. 1.1c, you can see it's a bunch of little questions. It is, how do you senior leaders communicate with, and now it's going to list what they want the answer to. We want to know, how do you communicate with your workforce? We want to know how you communicate with your residents. And we want to know how you communicate with your other key customers. Okay, this is where it is very important that we don't mistake a key stakeholder for a customer. Customers does not, little equal with a line through it means no, does not equal stakeholder. Stakeholder. Okay, so we would not be expecting you to go, hey, how do you communicate with your ownership? How do you communicate with your regulators? How do you communicate with your community at large? That's not the question here. It does not include stakeholders. It does, however, include two other groups. It's very important. I'm going to make this point later on, but it's a good point to make anyway. It's a good point to make a bunch of times so you don't get it wrong. First, it says workforce. You have to talk about workforce. Even if, when you look at if you did not say here, if you look at my customers, I did not put workforce as a customer here. I could, but I didn't. But it still wants to know, it's specifically asking about workforce. When it specifically asks about workforce, you answer about workforce. So you do have to answer that. But then it says, how do you communicate with your patients and residents? Now, this is a tricky one because if we segmented and we said we have long-term care residents and we have short-term care residents, then this question is asking you, how do you listen to your long-term care residents and how do you listen to your short? You would have to answer for both or all three. However many segments you have, you would have to list here. So keep that in mind. And then the other final point I'll make is this other customer thing. There's other customers. How do you listen to other customers? What are other key customers? They are not residents. Residents have been addressed. They're not staff. Staff have been addressed. They're everybody else you put, but not key stakeholders. So if families are a customer, then how do you listen to families? If discharge planners are a customer, then how do you listen to discharge planners? If the ACO is a customer, how do you listen to the ACO? If you said a insurance company is a customer, well, how do you listen to the insurance company? But keep it separate from stakeholders. Identify your stakeholders specifically. Our key customers are, our key stakeholders are, our key our key market segments are, our key stakeholders are. These are the requirements and expectations. And then don't carry forward the requirements and expectations of stakeholders further in the application. All other customers, yes, not key stakeholders. Okay, hope that is helpful. Took a little sidebar there, but I think it's important. A lot of people make that mistake, so let me want to make that clear. Next question. What are your key? What do we know about key? We know key means between 1 and 5. 1 and 5. What are your key requirements and expectations. Just to be clear, a requirement is contracts. Like you have to provide good care. You have to provide food service. You have to provide nutritional services, right? Like that kind of thing. The expectations, however, are not required, but it is what your customers hoped they're going to get. We hope you're going to be nice and compassionate. We hope you're going to be transparent. We hope you're going to, right? Like, what's the difference between require and expectation? Well, the requirements are required. The expectations are the niceties, the things that the customers come in like, God, I hope they are good people. I hope they not only take good care of my mom or dad physically, but I hope they really care about mom and dad, right? Like that's the difference. But we want to know now, not generally like the bronze. The bronze is like, what do they want? Now we want to know, what do they want from, what are the key requirements and expectations of your healthcare services? What do your residents want from your healthcare services? They want choice. They want good communication. They want to have a say in their healthcare services. What do they want from your support services? And what do they want from your operations, including any differences? Just simply means don't say all of our customers want the same thing, because that's an indicator. If you say all your customers want the same thing, to the examiner, what that tells us is you don't know your customers, or you're certainly not listening to them, because a short-term resident does not want the same thing as a long-term resident. A family member doesn't want the same thing as a discharge planner. A discharge planner doesn't want the same thing as a employee if you had an employee as a customer. I also want to note here that if you remember from the bronze application, the question limited you to only 4. You could only have 4 customers, residents, and then up to 3 more. Here, there is no such limitation. If you wanted to list 15 customers, well, the application doesn't say you can't. With peace and love, don't do it. Don't do it. As a matter of fact, I'm going to ask you as a consultant, maybe as your consultant, to limit it to 3, maybe 4. 3, maybe 4. The least is 3. You have to have at least 3. 4 is a pretty good number. 5's too many for customers. Unless you're segmented. If you're segmenting your residents, if you're like long-term, short-term residents, and then you said family members, I would buy it. Those 3, great. If you said short-term, or what if you said, you didn't segment, you said just residents, families, discharge planners, I'd buy it. Residents, families, employees, I'd buy it, right? So just don't want a whole long laundry list, because again, the more you list, the more you have to add in all the other sections in Section 7. So sometimes it just gets a little bit difficult. Make sure that you are addressing what do they want from your healthcare services? What do they want from your support services? What do they want from your operations? And if there is nothing, then it could be nothing. Like your employees probably don't want anything from your healthcare services. No big deal. But they probably do want something from your operations. They probably do want something from your support services. So keep that in mind. Otherwise, this is really great. Here's the final thing. Now, I need to explain this to you. Now, if you've only been half listening so far, I need you to pay attention. Tune in to me. Tune in. Come here. Come close. If you notice on this little table, I added a question mark, a big old red question mark. This is very, very important, because if you remember from the bronze application, there were 3 questions in this question. It said, who are your customers? What do they want? And how do you know? Guess what's missing from this question? That last part, how do you know, is missing from the Silver Quality Award. And the Quality Award program does that. I don't know why, but it does play a little trickery on you. Even at the gold level, they have an expectation that is not spelled out in the gold level. This is an expectation that is not clear. So let me make it clear. We are going to ask examiners when we read your application, if you say that your residents want meaningful activities, I am going to ask as an examiner, how do you know? Now, unlike Unlike the bronze, you would not tell me here. You wouldn't tell me. You wouldn't go, and we know through monthly, quarterly meeting, monthly resident council, quarterly care plans, during the 72-hour admission, during the baseline care plan meeting is when we learn this information. You would not tell me here. You would not tell me. Instead, you would tell me in Section 7. In Section 7. If you have not already watched my video on how I break down the silver application, please do make sure that's your next watch, because I go through exactly the 3 components. There's 3 parts to the silver application. There's the beginning, the org profile. There's the process section, sections 1 through 12, or 1 through 6, but it's 12 sections. And then Section 7 is the results. The results section is where you are sharing how you know all the things you're saying. And so here is the first place where we're going to be asking at the silver level. Actually, not the first. I would have also asked this about your employees, drivers of engagement. If you remember, we brought it up, but there was another little red question mark at the drivers of engagement. How do you know? How do you know? How do you know? That's the same thing here. We drop the question, how do you know? But the expectation is you're not just coming up, I think they want this, I think they want that. We imagine you actually know it based on data that you've collected either through a survey or some way, and we're going to see those results in Section 7. Here, because it's customers, it's Section 7.3, just for your notes, or 7.2, actually. I think it's 7.2. I need to check because I don't want to misguide you. Hold on. Just avert your eyes. Let's look at Section 7 together. It is 7.2. Okay. I said 7.3. 7.3 is actually employees. 7.2 is customers. So we're going to expect a result in Section 7.2. Okay. Make sure you notice, remember that, write it down, keep it in top of mind. Okay. I hope you found this video helpful, just like all the others. If you have found this helpful, and please do me a favor, give me a thumbs up, like the video, share the video with your colleagues, subscribe to the channel. And of course, if you would like any one-on-one consulting, if these videos are helpful, but not helpful, like actually having a conversation with me be a little better, I'm all ears. I'm open to it. Just reach out to me, ralph@ralphpeterson.com. I would love nothing more than helping you win the Silver Quality Award. Winning, by the way, is the only thing I want to help you do. All I want to do is to have you win. I can't wait to see you walk across that stage. I can't wait to see you win not only the silver, but then to go for the gold. All right, maybe I'm putting the cart before the horse, but you know what I'm saying. I'm excited. You're excited. Let's keep going. Talk to you soon.